Let's move on to Mikail Kamara. Mikail Kamara is always one of my favorite interviews to watch because there are some people who say the right things and don't mean it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the dude just says the right things and he's telling the truth and that's what he's talking about and what he's about. It's like they asked him about his spring focus for year 5, like what's changed. He's like, nothing's changed. I come in with the same attitude every year. Like I just want to this is where he said, I love playing football and like I just like making sure I have no bad habits and just like going over my season from last year and just like eliminating the bad habit footworks that I've like fallen into, or maybe like little things with hand. But it's just like you wonder why, again, like a guy like D'Angelo Pons who's talking about the little things, or a guy like Mikail Kamara, or a guy like Aiden Fisher's is at an All-America level. It's because they're psychopaths. They're like, I just had an All-America season. Let me just go see what I did wrong and try and fix that.
Yeah, he led the country in pressures, and he's talking about his bad habits and how he needs to fix them. It's a little scary, honestly.
It's terrifying if you're
like the dude could
like, this
easily
guy's
been
gonna
a
get
day 2
better
draft pick. He might. I think size is definitely going to be his biggest like knock on him coming out of. But I mean, his production in college come next year in the draft, like that's going to be something you just can't overlook. And he's going to have another 10+ sack year at Indiana, staying healthy and everything. And what's the sack record? Single season sack record in Indiana? I think it's held by Jimmy Curlew, something like that. Jamie Curlew. Chat, help.
They asked Kamara.
I'll get back to you. I'll get back to you on that if you can
get back to me on that. But chew on this for a second. They asked Mikail how far he got like into the NFL process, and he said honestly he didn't get very far. With Fisher and Pons coming back, with the way the Notre Dame game ended, he kind of just had a bad feeling in his mouth, and he just he knew it's what he wanted to do. And so it is like from the outside again, it seemed like after the year he had, he probably would have, like you assume he would explore a little bit more of what that could have looked like. But to hear he was so focused on coming back, and then you hear about like he talks about why he wants to come back, and he has that chip on his shoulder, and they have more to prove, and he wants to compete for a championship, and it's like, yeah, this is a guy that like very easily could have gone to the draft, but because of his own desire and the power of NIL, Indiana has the ability to keep him at school and roll back 3 All-Americans next year.
Yeah, I mean, I love every bit of it. I got back to you on the 16 sacks in 2007. Is that including, if that's going to include playoffs, very attainable for Mikail Kamara.
So he could go into Big Ten play with
14. He could have 16 going into the Big Ten championship game. That's all I'm saying. Playing 17 games this year, Keezer, lock in. playing 17. We're gonna have 17 game previews this year. It's gonna be fun. A lot of history lessons from
lots of history lessons. We they like I said, they asked Kamara if that chip on his shoulder had changed, or if the chip from the team had changed at all after the year they had, after how much success they had. And he was like, no.
Not at all. No.
He's like, not even the slightest. Basically, I was gonna say, basically, he said the chip got bigger.
They didn't do what they set out to do. Like, like they wanted to win the Big Ten and go to win the championship. Like that's what they set out to do last year. As crazy as we called them going into it, that is what their team goals were, and they fell short. So they're 100% not satisfied with how last season went.
Yeah, he's at the end kind of just went on to talk about the room, or actually the entire team, and basically how freeing it is playing in front of 2 All-Americans, and just how the entire room, like he said, everybody's a dog. He's like, everybody just wants it. He's like, there isn't like we have to just talk about it constantly. It's just there's just this quiet known unsaid like feeling that the team has, and just everybody wants the same thing.
God, I'm getting fired up. Mikail Kamara, man. He's getting me fired up. I love that. That's getting me like goosebumps. Like
And then
I'm just
finishing up
picturing what that locker room looks like right now.
these, and then again, these are like two of the reasons why I love Mikail Kamara. Finishing up his pressers, they asked him, uh, why did he specifically want Aiden Fisher to take Amari Farrell under his wing? And Mikhail was like, basically, that he basically said, that's the best linebacker in the country. Why would I not want my brother to learn from a guy who I know isn't like A+ human and the best linebacker in the country? So that makes a ton of sense. And then they asked him kind of why he felt like the team was so good at getting transfers acclimated quickly. And he said that they just have like a really family oriented style. Um, he said guys are all there for a reason. Like if Sig brings you in, if Sig recruits you, like you're there for a reason. You're there to do a job, and so everybody has that understanding. And like for that reason, it's very easy to kind of come in. And he said like a lot of the new guys are coming in and they kind of understand what needs to be done and the work that needs to be done, and that it's a little bit like as opposed to last year where it was kind of like an unknown if you weren't a JMU guy. Like it's a little bit more well known what the standard is here, I guess. So that was interesting to see as well, or to hear.
Yeah, because he obviously the guys that were there were, I mean, if he's recruited or coached them, they know what the deal is. They know what they're getting into. Is basically the point I need to make. So yeah, checks out.
That was all for Mikail Kamara. I want to get to John's question in the chat real quick. He said it
Ooh,
took Pons 3 games to find the field as a freshman at JMU. How many games before Baldwin finds the field?
define find the field because I think he's going to play special teams like day one, game one. He's
I
on
think
special.
Pons was a full-time starter game 4 on.
Yeah,
So I guess
it's
the
tough.
question is,
It just depends on what they do. Like, are they going to go Boykin at Rover? Or are they going to go Farrell at Rover? That's going to determine a lot of it. Because if it's Farrell at the Rover, Pons could probably get on the field pretty quickly. Because at that point, he just has to beat out Bryson Bonds at that point. But if Farrell's going to play back end safety with Louis Moore, his best friend, I don't, I don't. It's gonna be a lot tougher for him. Maybe Baldwin, some Rover action. Maybe if he can get involved there. Maybe. I don't know.
here's my
I think he'll be on the field game one. 100%. He'll be playing those cup
no, I was gonna
games.
say
He will be getting live
here,
team reps.
here's my Baldwin take. Because the
Yeah.
kid's super versatile. If you watched him at all at St. Francis, he played a little safety, he played a little corner, and he's going to be a safety, but like the guy has cover skills. I am under the impression, again, from afar, that the kid is far too talented to keep off the field for find the field to start. Okay, when is he going to start? I think just based on pure talent wise, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a day one starter. But given the way I know the staff handles freshman, I'm expecting to see him very much in a Mario Landino role early, where you're going to probably see him in the first or second or third series in the first game and be like, oh my God, he's in very early. And depending on how the guys in front of him play and how he plays will dictate how often and how early he's in the games. But I'm with Brad. I think if you're going to go with experience, especially with the guys they brought in, and you're going to try and put your most experienced lineup on the field first. I do see it, and I don't think they would just, unless it's going horribly wrong, completely alter away their defensive plan. So I think it took like 3 or 4 weeks for them to move Amari Farrell's position last season. So I would say if he's going to start this season, week 5, week 6. But honestly, I think they're probably a better football team if he's playing his way onto the field more, but not necessarily the starter, if that makes sense. Because that means the guys in front of him are playing at a level that warrant those guys need to play too, and it just gives you more depth.
So I would say we have a bye.
Not necessarily a Baldwin thing.
We have buys between Iowa and Oregon. we'll see. Maybe he starts the Oregon game. That'd be. I don't know if that's like a good or bad thing. I think it could go either way in terms of like what that really means. But I mean, just based on the talent that they did bring in, it's an uphill battle for him. I'm not saying he's fully capable. If he starts, like, awesome. I know he's talented enough for it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
that's where I'm at too.
I don't know if he's going to start, but he's going to get a ton of action regardless. I feel like it's going to be his calling card. So I know I'm doing a bad job of answering John's question. Let's just say let's go with fucking he starts the Purdue game this year.
Yeah,
Week
I'm with you.
12.
I think it's in Indiana's best interest if, because of experience, they are and level of play, they're forced to go with the older guy, quote unquote, versus like those guys in front of him weren't good enough to play, so
Yeah.
Baldwin almost has to play. Like I
Yeah.
don't
There
know
is the
where he
scenario
plays.
where Baldwin's like Caleb Downs, and it's like we have to play him. But
Mhm.
even then, like that's just a guy who's going to get a ton of tech with a lot of talented guys. So I don't know. My guess would be week 12. We'll see how he progresses. I really don't expect like any reason for Louis Moore or Devin Boykin, any of those guys to not get. I mean, those are power four guys coming in. It's not like we're bringing in Asbury and Terry Jones and like we definitely leveled up a little bit with the type of recruit we brought in through the portal this offseason. It was very telling. Very few. The only group of five guys were Ratcliffe and Wheeler, it feels like. Really? I can't. Off the
And
top of my
Mekhi
head, I can't.
Jackson.
And Mikail Jackson, that makes sense. Like D-line receiver, like those that makes sense position group wise. So it's gonna be hard for him to do it. But yeah, my answer
Yeah,
for you, week 12. Week
I'll
14.
say this. It's not a negative indictment on Byron Baldwin, the player, if he doesn't start a game this year. I actually think that's more of a positive for Indiana that the guys they brought in were as good as they thought they were. Um, but I do think, like Brad said, and like we've said and repeated for the last 2.5 minutes, so we'll move on. But he's going to play a lot. Like the kid's super, super, super talented. He's a top 5 recruit in Indiana history by the metrics. And if you throw out the metrics and just watch the kid play, he's a great football player.
Yeah, he might
So
just
he's
be.
going to play.
I hope he's all natural and he's starting I hope he starts the Oregon game. Honestly, if he's starting the Oregon game, he's probably special as hell. Like just a little different. All right, we'll move on.
But yeah, super excited. Very, very, very excited for
We
Byron
love
Baldwin Jr.
we love too. Like we've been talking about Byron Baldwin since he committed the first time.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been talking / writing about Byron Baldwin Jr. since he committed the first time. So if you want to go read that article, it's on keysportsnetwork.com from last July, I think.